Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today I have a distinct pleasure in reviewing yet another IEM from BGVP. This is not a typical IEM. This is the BGVP Solomon. I would like to title this review as Technical Masterclass. There's an old saying, you know me but you don't know me. That's how I like to describe BGVP as a company. Though they have a recognized place in the IEM market, I really don't feel that too many people know them as intimately as some of the other players out there. And there's a reason for this. What I really mean to say is this is one company that seems to stand firm on technical know-how and the solid implementation of that knowledge to produce positive, tangible results. In English, what does that mean? This is a different approach from that taken by some of their competitors who unfortunately allow the marketing department to dictate what the product is all about. Okay, enough for my ranting. BGVP is one of the most technically adept companies I've seen in the IEM space, and not just for the marketing, for tangible results, meaning fantastic sound. Let's get you a closer look at the Solomon. Really nice IEM. Nice branding, build quality, top notch. So let's continue. The Solomon is a top of the line caliber release. I believe there's one more IEM in the BGVP's lineup that may be more expensive, which is interesting because this company regularly releases some pretty ambitious products, and this is an ambitious one. It's a 9-driver complement per side with dual horizontal symmetrically opposed 8mm PU+LCP dynamic drivers, 2 Sonion mid-treble balanced armatures, a single Sonion balanced armature for the mid-range, and 2 Sonion EST drivers combined with 2 Sonion bone conductor drivers per side. That's a lot of Sonion, to be honest with you. What's the result of this? Well, let's get into the tuning. Tuning-wise, the Solomon offers a balanced and mature sound signature with a touch of emphasis in the upper registers. It has a bass that is of excellent quality, but may not be for bass heads as it relays what's in the track without embellishments. This is not going to pound your head with extra bass on chamber music. For example, you're going to hear what's in the track. So that's one thing right there. Driving the Solomon is fairly easy. However, it is highly, I would say, required to drive it with a very capable front end, as it's a detail and resolution monster. I would also recommend using a warmer source as it does get a little hot in the upper registers, depending on the track or depending on the genre. That being said, cleanliness galore. With the Solomon, BGVP have put on a masterclass in driver balancing and implementation. What they have achieved is a showcase of technical prowess in sound. So let's go over the specs once again. Drivers, 9 per side with 2 horizontally opposed 8mm dynamic drivers, 1 Sonion mid-range driver, balanced armature, 2 additional Sonion balanced armatures for mid-treble. The treble uses Sonion EST drivers, 2 of them. Interesting thing is, in the past, they've had to stack multiple, and this is not just BGVP, other companies have had to stack multiple EST drivers to get a strong enough treble response or treble energy. I guess this is the new generation because with only 2 of these, the treble energy is exemplary. And of course, 2 Sonion bone conductor drivers. Now here's the interesting part. The impedance is 7.3 ohms, not your typical 16 or 32. Again, preferably an amp with a low output impedance to drive this. And sufficient power and control in order to extract the best sound. Sensitivity is 110 decibels, by the way. There are 2 cables included. There's a 4.4mm balance. They're both, actually, I should say that they are both 4.4mm balance, and I will show you those incredibly beautiful cables in a minute. The first one is a 4-strand Furukawa OCC mixed cable. The next one is a 4.4 millimeter balanced 8-core Furukawa SCC plus silver coated copper cable. Build and fit. The $1,299 USD, that is, BGVP Solomon is larger IM. It is a larger IM. I can put this, for example, with the Eroso, not even in the same category. I'm just doing this for size, which itself is somewhat chunky, and the Solomon dwarfs it. You can see that. That being said, even though it is a larger IM, the shape affords a comfortable fit. Tip selection, though, is critical here, as it is most often that is, to here for a secure fit and good seal as well as the best sound. It's an attractive IEM. Let's just take a look at this IEM. It's got different shades of blue. It's got gold accents with gold, I should say, branding on the top. We'll look at the other one. You can see it's gold branded with the model name Solomon. Really nicely done. Beautiful IEM. Is it the most beautiful I've seen? Not necessarily, but it's beautiful in of itself. Now, I got to talk a little bit about the retail presentation. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you everything. Let me move these off here. The Solomon ships in a box. And when I say a box, I mean a true wood box. You're not going to be able to see all of it. It starts here, goes here. Here's the branding. There's the clasp. It's going to be hard to see on video because I'm so close here. This thing is massive. Opening up the box, and we have the interior, which I'm not going to be able to show correctly. I'm sorry about this. It's all velour here. It's got 2 different areas. It's got branding at the top. It is next level. I will put it in the pictures in the description for this video so you can get a better look. This thing is presented more like a Rolex than it is an IEM. One of the most, if not the most over-the-top retail presentation I've ever seen. One of these boxes inside with this orange motif also has the cable. So let's talk about the cable. First, we have the 4-core. Cable, stunning. Beautiful cable, beautiful haptics, a nice open weave. They are not convertible. This is a 4.4 mil, and that is all. There's no other tips you can put on there. It is a fantastic cable. By itself, I would say that that's fine for the Solomon at its asking price. But then they include this one. Now, beautiful motif, very luxurious cable all the way. Not much more I can say about it. Folks, there are a number of companies out there that produce cables, such as these, who would include something identical or close to identical that would charge as much for the cable as for the Solomon itself. BGVP, even at the asking price of $1,200, over $1,200, $1,299 actually USD, is actually, it's hard for me to say this, but let me just put it this way. They're giving you good value. They're giving you a good value here. If you're going to buy something a little bit higher end, the presentation at least is very high end. Let's continue. Included cables deserve their own paragraph. Luxurious is the best way to describe them. Some manufacturers again sell cables as costly as the Solomon that are equivalent or even lesser quality than what I just showed you. The quality of every item is exemplary. From the finish of the IEMs to the additions, it seems they meticulously planned everything. All of that is fine and dandy. How do these actually sound? That's where the tires hit the road. The low end offers a balanced approach. This is more of a quote-unquote what is in the track type of tuning approach that makes the Solomon actually more versatile regarding music genres. With exemplary speed and control, the bass quality is and can only be described as excellent. The Solomon presented the textured bass notes on Angel by Massive Attack with great clarity. The Solomon's potential bass power became apparent on another track by Mannix. The track is called Intelligent Hoodlum. It's a drum and bass track. Again, the Solomon is not about making the ears bleed, but to faithfully play back what's in the track. I went on to something more acoustic as opposed to electronic. The double bass in No Worries from Robert Glasper Trio sometimes gets buried with lesser detailed IEMs or IEMs that have a harsh mids and upper mids as they mask the bass. Here, no problem. I could easily follow the notes. With respect to the bass, the BGVP, or the people at BGVP, have crafted a high-quality bass delivery with ample control, texturing, and speed, not to mention great tone. Bass does not bleed into the mid-range here. I have to point that out as well. And while it may not satisfy the die-hard bass maniac, quality almost always beats quantity in my book. So I would call the bass well done, very well done. Mid-range, the star of the show? Possibly. The BGVP Solomon is more resolving and analytical than warm and lush. People might say, "Oh, it's cold. It's clean room cold." No, it's not. Yet it does not sound clinical. There's a sense that everything on the track is being served on a silver platter with nothing left. In other words, the user, the listener, hears everything. The issue with that, though, is that recordings with lesser quality may have their deficiencies made more obvious to the listener, as the sound here really can't hide. So good and bad, you're going to hear it. The Solomon's mid-range presents a crisp, open, and transparent canvas. Even on complex tracks such as Beautiful Lie by Vic Lavender, lots of percussion, lots going on in the track, synthesizers, the whole 9 yards, plus vocals. The Solomon makes it almost too easy to pick out each instrument in its own space. This space actually enlarges around the instruments on less complex tracks, adding to the already open nature of the Solomon's mid-range. The macro and micro detail retrieval on this IEM are next level. In abundance, even fine details are heard. Vocals, in particular female vocals, are more forward in the mix than male, with all the nuances laid bare. This is not an IEM that sound can hide from. Listening to Love You to the Letter by Anita Baker, one of my favorite female singers, I was more than pleased with the crisp vocal playback. Tender-Hearted Lover by male vocalist John Stoddart was the next song I put on. And though it seemed a little less warm than I usually prefer, I could clearly hear the emotional delivery of this great artist. The Transients have admirable management with excellent attack and natural fall-off. Timbre is also very good, with instrument texturing being a standout. Nitpicks, though, it's the world, folks. Not everything is perfect, right? I found that occasionally there was a dryness and lack of note weight and fullness of tone in the mid-range. This could be due to how detailed the Solomon is and may have exasperated this, what I was hearing, even though I am a lover of details. This is also personal preference and usually necessary for my complete musical immersion. So with respect to the dryness of sound and the missing note weight, although there is note weight, but not not as much as I usually would prefer, and I heard that on occasion. Still, despite my nitpicks, the Solomon continues to be a tour de force in sound. I'm a lover of detail, and I could not ask for any more detail. Probably one of the most, in terms of detail retrieval, one of the most accomplished IEMs I've ever heard. Lovers of complex orchestral passages will find much to love with the Solomon. You hear everything. In fact, this IEM lends it well to every genre I threw at it. Mid-range clarity here is TOTL. Top of the line, absolutely. Treble. Well, it's short and sweet, but let me put it this way. The Solomon has a treble that is extended with ample sparkle and air. Detail retrieval is exemplary, matching that heard in the mid-range, as are resolution and control. The treble seems to go on forever, with no harshness noted at all. And when I say go on forever, it doesn't mean that there's embellished or overhang. The treble doesn't stop. Here we have a treble that excels at exposing the upper harmonics of instruments naturally with great resolution. Treble sensitive folks may have something to say, not as flattering, but I would tell them, to these opinionated ears, it's all bliss up top. Great treble. Imaging and Soundstage, another winner for the Solomon. The BGVP Solomon throws up a wide and expansive soundstage that never sounds overdone. What is pleasing here is that the instrument separation and layering of all the elements. Imaging within that soundstage is pinpoint precise. Pinpoint precise. The analytical nature of the Solomon really put on a show here, and it sounds more like a monitor, actually, than your typical consumer IEM. In fact, I would rank its soundstage and imaging alongside the likes of the 64 Audio U12T and U18T, which I described as tools that just happen to sound musical. Not in the absolute sense of imaging and soundstage, that's not what I'm talking about, but the analytical nature of the presentation. Technicalities are where the Solomon performs like a champion. Conclusion. Wow, this has been an interview of the Solomon, a review/interview. Conclusion. With the Solomon, BGVP have solidified, at least in my mind, their standing as one of the most technically adept IEM manufacturers. This is not just referring to the tech. Everyone's got tech. Everyone's got tech, working or not working. Oh, did I really just go there? Working or not working. Love to fill the information releases with all this tech. But with BGVP, also the sound that they extract from all this technology. It's not just there just to be there and fill up a marketing handout. The Solomon is a statement in both form and execution, awarding the listener with an open landscape where the view is as far as the eyes can see. Is it for everyone? No, it's not going to be for everyone. And I would be remiss if I thought so, as my ears and audio sensibilities are mine alone. They're mine alone. Audio being the subjective and fickle thing that it is. At times I would have preferred, yes, a touch more note weight and fullness of tone. Nevertheless, the Solomon ends out to be a triumph. BGVP has given us an IM for those who value clarity, precision, and musicality. Taken as a whole, both physically and auditory, the Solomon is actually a pleasant surprise at its asking price. Yes, I said that. A $1,300 USD IM is actually a good buy at its asking price. In fact, fantastic. We're not just talking about the retail presentation. That's fine. I'm talking about the sound that you get here. I've listened to more than a few more expensive, some much more expensive, IEMs that cannot match the innate qualities of this IEM. If musical precision is what you are after, the BGVP Solomon should be on your short list. Just be in good shape to lift up that box when it arrives. Little joke there. So again, probably one of, if not the most technically adept IEM I've ever had in my ears. In terms of detail retrieval, I couldn't ask for more. Fantastic IEM all around. Yes, it could have used a little bit more note weight, note density could be improved in the mid-range somehow. And the warmth of the lower mids. But when you take it as it is, everything, the sum of everything, this is a fantastic IEM and should be on your short list if you're looking and are in the market at this price range. Want to thank you once again for joining me at Silicon Sounds, and more reviews upcoming. And once again, thanks for joining us. Tell your friends about the channel, like and subscribe. See you again next time on Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us.